The stars shimmered quietly in the darkness of space as the massive Jarelian warship sliced through the void. Commander Kethzar stood tall on the bridge, his scaled skin reflecting the blue glow of the control panels. His six-fingered hand tapped impatiently on the metal railing as he stared at the holographic display of a small blue planet. "This is our next target," he announced to his officers. "A world called Earth." Science Officer Trelana approached with caution, her slender form dwarfed by the commander's muscular build. She cleared her throat. "Commander, I must advise you to review my reports on this planet. The conditions there are concerning." Kethzar barely glanced at her. "Another one of your warnings, Trelana. The Empire has conquered thousands of worlds. What makes this one special?" Trelana's large eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of frustration in her species. "Earth has what we would classify as extreme conditions: high gravity, powerful atmospheric disturbances, and an alarming variety of microorganisms. The native species, humans, have evolved in what our medical databases consider a death trap." The commander laughed, a harsh sound that made junior officers flinch. "If these humans can survive there, how dangerous could they truly be? Prepare the invasion fleet." "Standard protocols, but sir," Trelana began. "That will be all, Science Officer." Kethzar cut her off, turning away dismissively. Trelana retreated, clutching her datapad tightly. The bridge crew avoided her gaze, all knowing better than to question the commander's decisions. The Empire had never failed in conquest after all. On Earth, Dr. Alan Carter squinted at his computer screen, rubbing his tired eyes. The observatory had been his home for the past 72 hours as he tracked an unusual radiation pattern near Jupiter. His office was a mess of coffee cups and half-eaten sandwiches, but he barely noticed. The door opened, and Dr. Linda Rosario walked in. Despite being his ex-wife, she was still his most trusted colleague at NASA. "You look terrible," she said, placing a fresh cup of coffee beside him. Alan took the coffee gratefully. "Thanks. Have you seen these readings? Something's happening near Jupiter. The radiation patterns don't match anything in our databases." Linda leaned over to look at his screen. "Could be a sensor malfunction. The equipment on that satellite is nearly 8 years old." "It's not just one satellite," Alan replied, switching to another screen. "I'm getting similar readings from 3 different arrays. Something's out there, Linda." She frowned, her skepticism fading as she studied the data. "Have you told anyone else?" "Not yet. I wanted to be sure before I set off any alarms." He ran a hand through his messy brown hair. "But if these readings are accurate, we're detecting an energy signature that doesn't occur naturally." Linda straightened up, her expression serious. "You think it's artificial? As in, not from Earth?" Alan nodded slowly. "That's exactly what I think." The next morning, satellite systems around the world began failing. Communications networks crashed, weather predictions went haywire, and air traffic controllers scrambled to maintain contact with planes in flight. At the United Nations building in New York, an emergency session had been called. Representatives from every major nation sat in tense silence as the Secretary General addressed them. "Ladies and gentlemen, as you've all been informed, we are experiencing global technological disruptions. NASA and other space agencies have detected unusual energy signatures in our solar system. We must consider the possibility that we are not alone." The room erupted in voices. Fear, disbelief, and urgent questions filled the air. In Washington, D.C., the president sat in the Situation Room, surrounded by military advisors. General Paul Harris pointed to a satellite image on the main screen. "Sir, we've managed to capture this with our Deep Space Telescope. It's currently in orbit around Mars." The image showed a massive object, clearly artificial, with a design unlike anything created by human hands. The president leaned forward. "What are our options?" General Harris looked grim. "Honestly, sir, we have no protocols for this. If they're hostile, our most advanced weapons might not even scratch them. And if they're peaceful, then we hope they stay that way," the general replied. Captain Vreltok of the Jarelian scout ship gazed at the blue planet with mild disgust. His environmental officer had just delivered a report that made his stomach turn. "This cannot be. Correct, he said. Check the sensors again. The officer bowed nervously. I've verified the readings 3 times, sir. The planet's atmosphere contains nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and water vapor. The surface is 71% covered in liquid water. Temperature variations range from extreme cold to extreme heat. And the biological diversity. He shuddered. There are millions of species, including microscopic life forms that would be lethal to our kind. Vreltok updated his mission log. Target world appears to have developed sapient life despite extreme hazard conditions. Recommend full immunological protocols for ground forces. The atmospheric composition alone would be toxic to most civilized species without protection. He transmitted the report to the fleet and waited. The response came quickly. Continue with mission. Invasion proceeds as scheduled. Vreltok stared at the message in disbelief. Did the command not understand what they were facing? This was not a standard world. The very air could kill them. With reluctance, he acknowledged the order and prepared his ship to rejoin the main fleet. On the Imperial command ship, Trelna reviewed Captain Vreltok's report with growing alarm. She hurried to the bridge where Commander Kethazar was overseeing invasion preparations. Commander, you must see this, she insisted, presenting her datapad. The scout ship confirms my analysis. Earth's conditions are even more extreme than we initially calculated. The microbiological threats alone. Enough, Kethzar interrupted. Your concerns are noted, science officer. But the Empire has conquered worlds with hostile atmospheres before. Our troops have protective gear. Our ships have sterilization fields. We will adapt, as we always do. Trelna persisted. Sir, the humans have evolved in these conditions. Their bodies harbor bacteria that could infect our troops. Their immune systems can fight off diseases that would devastate our kind. They survive in a gravity field that will strain our soldiers. This is not like other conquests. The commander turned to her, his patience clearly wearing thin. Are you suggesting that primitives who have barely reached their own moon could present a threat to the Jurelian Empire? We who have mastered faster than light travel? We who have conquered 1,000 worlds? I am suggesting caution, sir. Study before action. Kethazar's eyes narrowed. The Imperial Council expects results, not studies. The invasion begins tomorrow, as planned. He addressed the entire bridge crew. Set course for Earth. Prepare all troops for deployment. Standard conquest protocols. As the massive warships of the Jurelian fleet moved toward Earth, Trelna returned to her station. She had done all she could to warn them. Now she could only watch and wait for the disaster she feared would come. In the darkness of space, the fleet accelerated, weapons primed and troops ready. The Empire had spoken. Earth would fall like all the others before it, or so they thought. The morning sky above Chicago turned dark as massive ships appeared out of nowhere. They hovered silently, casting giant shadows on the city below. People stopped in the streets and looked up. Some took pictures with their phones. Others ran, for cover. Colonel Frank Mitchell was eating breakfast when his phone rang. He answered it with one hand while turning on the TV with the other. The news showed alien ships appearing over major cities around the world. I'll be there in 15 minutes, he said into the phone before hanging up. His wife Karen watched the TV with wide eyes. Frank, what's happening? I don't know, he said honestly, grabbing his uniform. But I need to get to base now. At the go. Space Force Command Center, chaos reigned. Officers rushed between stations. Screens showed alien ships positioned over New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, and dozens of other cities. General Adams met Frank at the door. Mitchell, good. We're coordinating with forces worldwide. The President has authorized defensive measures. If these visitors show hostile intent, what do we know about them? Frank asked. Nothing except they appeared without warning and they're not responding to any attempts at communication. A young lieutenant ran up to them. Sir, the ships are opening. Something's being released over the cities. On the screens, green mist poured from the undersides of the alien vessels. It floated down toward the streets, enveloping buildings and people. Gas attack! Frank said, his stomach turning. They're hitting civilians first. The general grabbed a phone. Get the president. Tell him we're under attack. In downtown Chicago, Nurse Kelly Dawson watched through the hospital windows as green mist descended on the city. Emergency alerts blared from her phone, telling everyone to stay inside and seal all windows and doors. Within an hour, the emergency room filled with coughing patients. Many had been caught outside when the mist fell. Kelly and the other medical staff worked frantically, checking symptoms and administering oxygen. Dr. Patel, the head of emergency medicine, called the staff together. Listen up. The patients are stabilizing. This doesn't appear to be immediately lethal. CDC is reporting similar cases nationwide. They think it might be some kind of biological agent, but not one designed to kill. Then what's it designed to do? Kelly asked. Dr. Patel shook his head. We don't know yet, but blood tests show increased white cell counts. It's like they're immune. Systems are fighting something we can't identify. Kelly checked on a young woman who had been one of the first patients brought in. Her breathing had improved, and her fever was down. How are you feeling? Kelly asked. Better, the woman said, surprised. Actually, I feel really good. Like I just had a shot of energy. Kelly noted it in the chart and moved to her next patient, who said almost the same thing. By evening, most patients were reporting increased energy and improved breathing. Something strange was happening. On the Jurelian command ship, Commander Kethzar received reports from the fleet. Phase 1 complete, an officer reported. Immunological, suppressant deployed over major population centers. Excellent, Kethzar said. The suppressant will weaken their immune systems, making them vulnerable to our standard pathogens. Begin Phase 2. Trelna stood nearby, reviewing incoming data. Commander, something isn't right. Our sensors indicate the humans are not reacting, as expected, to the suppressant. Explain, Kethzar demanded. Their immune systems should be shutting down. Instead, they appear to be adapting. Some are even showing increased immune response. The commander waved dismissively. A temporary reaction. Proceed with ground forces deployment. Trelna wanted to argue, but knew it was useless. Instead, she sent a private message to the medical team to prepare for possible contamination. The Jurelian troops emerged from their landing ships wearing full protective suits. Their armor gleamed in the sunlight as they marched through the streets of Chicago. Their weapons were raised, ready to fire at any resistance. Commander Drelvax led the Chicago invasion force. His orders were clear: secure the city center, establish a command post, and begin processing the local population. Remember, this atmosphere is toxic, he told his troops through their helmet communicators. Any breach in your protective gear could be fatal. The gravity here will strain your muscles. Conserve energy when possible. The troops moved forward cautiously. Humans fled before them or hid in buildings. Some military resistance had formed barricades, but their weapons couldn't penetrate the Jurelian armor. 3 hours into the operation, Drelvax received the first troubling report. Sir, Squad 7 reports their equipment is malfunctioning. Their weapon systems are becoming unresponsive. Before he could respond, another message came in. Squad 3 reporting similar issues. Their movement systems are locking up. Drelvax frowned inside his helmet. Check for electronic countermeasures. The humans may have deployed EMP weapons. His technical officer ran a scan. No energy signatures detected, sir, but environmental analysis shows extremely high humidity and organic particles in the air. Microscopic life forms are everywhere, even attaching to our external armor. Impossible, Drelvax said. Our suits are designed to repel all biological contaminants. Sir, the officer replied, these life forms are unlike any in our database. They appear to be eating through our protective coatings. Back at space, Force Command, Frank Mitchell watched drone footage of the alien troops. They're having trouble, he said, pointing to aliens who were moving stiffly, or whose weapons seemed to be failing. What's causing it? General Adams asked. A scientist from the CDC had joined them. It might be our environment. Look at their suits. They're completely sealed. They're treating Earth like it's toxic. To them, maybe it is, Frank realized. Our air, our bacteria, our viruses, they've never been exposed to them. Everything on Earth might be dangerous to them. The general leaned forward. Are you saying we have a natural advantage? Possibly, the scientist said. If their technology can't handle our environment, that gives us an opening. Frank studied the footage more closely. Their movements are becoming more erratic. If we hit them now while they're struggling. The general nodded. Coordinate with ground forces. Let's test how tough these invaders really are. On the command ship, Kethzar was growing frustrated. What do you mean the ground forces are experiencing equipment failures? Our technology is the most advanced in the galaxy. The communications officer looked nervous. Multiple squad leaders report the same issues, sir. The planet's environment seems to be affecting our systems. The high moisture content and abundance of microorganisms are degrading external components. Trelna stepped forward. Commander, I warned about this. Earth's conditions are extreme by our standards, but there's a more serious concern. She showed him a medical report. Troops who experienced even minor exposure to the atmosphere are showing signs of infection. Unknown pathogens have entered their systems. Kethzar stared at the report in disbelief. How is this possible? Our biological filters should prevent any contamination. Earth has millions of microbial species, Trelna explained. Our filters weren't designed for such diversity. And these microbes evolve rapidly. They're already adapting to our presence. For the first time, uncertainty crossed the commander's face. He had led countless invasions, but never encountered a world where the very environment fought back. Adjust. The strategy, he ordered finally. All troops to maintain full isolation protocols, no direct contact with anything native to this planet, and prepare cleansing devices. If we can't adapt to their world, we'll make it adapt to us. As night fell over Earth, both sides prepared for what would come next. The Jarelians, with their advanced technology but vulnerable to Earth's natural defenses, and the humans, outmatched, in weaponry but with the ultimate home field advantage. A planet that was, to their invaders, a true death trap. 3 weeks had passed since the Jarelian invasion began. They now controlled several major cities, but their victory was not as complete as they had planned. Their troops faced mounting problems as Earth's environment continued to challenge their technology and biology. Dr. Alan Carter hadn't slept more than 4 hours at a time since the aliens arrived. He and a team of international scientists had been given a critical mission: understand the invaders' technology and find weaknesses. The government had provided them with pieces of alien equipment recovered from skirmishes. Alan carefully examined a damaged control panel from an alien weapon. Linda Rosario worked beside him, analyzing data on her computer. Look at this, Alan said, pointing to a small device inside the panel. Their systems rely on neural interfaces. They literally connect their minds to their machines. Linda leaned closer. That's interesting. So they're not just controlling their weapons, they're feeling them, sensing through them. Alan nodded. And these neural systems operate on very specific frequencies. He checked readings on a device next to him. Frequencies that overlap with our wireless communications. Linda's eyes widened. You mean our cell phones' Wi-Fi radio signals, they interfere with their neural tech? Not all of them, Alan clarified. But certain frequencies, yes. I think that's why their equipment failures are worse in urban areas with dense wireless networks. Linda quickly typed notes. If we could boost those specific frequencies, we could basically create neural static for them. Alan finished her thought. Enough to disrupt their systems without affecting our own technology. For the first time in weeks, Alan smiled. We need to get this information to the resistance groups, especially in occupied territories. In Seattle, which had been under alien control for 2 weeks, high school physics teacher Jack Williams led a small group of civilians who had evaded capture. They hid in the basement of an abandoned building, planning their next move. The military is still holding the outskirts, Jack told the group of 20 people, but they can't get into the city center because of the alien stronghold. Mei Chen, a chemistry professor from the local university, raised her hand. I've been studying the protective suits they wear. I noticed something when they were patrolling near my lab. Their armor seems to react badly to certain substances. What kind of substances? Jack asked. Common household chemicals, May explained. I saw one of them brush against a cleaning supply truck. Where the liquid touched, their armor started to degrade almost immediately. Jack thought for a moment. Could we make something that would have the same effect? Something we could use as a weapon? May nodded. With the right ingredients, yes. Normal cleaning supplies might be too diluted, but I could create a concentrated solution that would eat through their armor quickly. That could give us an advantage, Jack said. If we can breach their suits, they'd be exposed to our atmosphere, which we know they can't handle. A young man named Chris spoke up. I work for an internet service provider. If I could access one of our relay stations, I could send encrypted messages to other resistance groups, share what we learn. Jack nodded. That's our plan then. May works on the chemical solution. Chris sets up communications. The rest of us gather supplies and keep watch. We might not be able to drive them out of the city yet, but we can make their occupation a lot more difficult. Linda Rosario had been transferred to a military intelligence unit, tasked with coordinating resistance efforts worldwide. She worked from a secure underground facility, managing information from various groups fighting the aliens. We've received reports from 6 continents, she told her team, all confirming the same patterns. The aliens struggle during weather events, heavy rain, thunderstorms, high winds. Colonel Frank Mitchell nodded. Their sensory systems must be overwhelmed by the electrical activity in our atmosphere. That's useful information. Linda pulled up a global weather map. I've been tracking weather patterns against resistance successes. The correlation is clear. During thunderstorms, resistance groups have a 70% higher success rate against alien patrols. We need to coordinate attacks with weather events, Frank said, especially in regions where monsoon season is approaching. Linda pointed to another report on her screen. We're also seeing successful attacks using environmental factors. A group in Seattle has developed a chemical compound that degrades alien armor. Groups in tropical regions report that the high humidity is causing increased equipment failures among alien forces. Frank leaned back in his chair. They came here thinking they were the predators, but Earth itself is hunting them. On the Jarelian command ship, the situation was becoming dire. The medical bay was filled with sick soldiers, many suffering from unknown diseases that had breached their protective gear. Commander Kethzar stared at the latest casualty reports with growing concern. How many troops lost this week? Trelina consulted her data pad. Over 2,000, sir. But the greater concern is the new infection spreading among the forces. Our medical team has identified it as a mutation of what the humans call the common cold. It appears to have jumped species. How is that possible? Kethzar demanded. Our biology is completely different from theirs. This planet's microorganisms evolve at a remarkable rate, Trelna explained. They've never encountered our kind before, but they're adapting to use us as hosts. And with no natural immunity, our troops experience much more severe symptoms than humans do. Kethzar paced the bridge. What about the atmospheric cleansing? I ordered all biological material in our controlled zones to be eliminated. An officer spoke up. The cleansing efforts are failing, sir. The microorganisms reproduce faster than we can kill them, and many have developed resistance to our methods already. Kethzar slammed his fist on a console. This world fights back at every turn. Even its smallest life forms defy us. Trelna approached cautiously. Commander, I must formally recommend a strategic withdrawal. We've lost nearly 30% of our ground forces, not to battle, but to this world's natural defenses. If we remain, the casualties will only increase. Withdraw? Kethzar growled. The Empire has never abandoned a conquest. The Council would view it as weakness. The Council is not here, Trelina said firmly. They don't see our troops suffering from diseases our medical technology cannot cure. They don't understand that this planet is unlike any we've encountered before. Kethzar was silent for a long moment. Finally, he turned to his communications officer. Send a message to the Imperial Council. Inform them of our situation. Request reinforcements and specialized equipment for extreme hazard environments. As the officer rushed to obey, Kethzar looked out at the blue planet below. "This isn't over," he said quietly. "We will adapt our strategy. If we cannot conquer this world through standard means, we will find another way. The Empire does not accept defeat." But even as he spoke, another report came in of equipment failures, sick troops, and successful human resistance attacks. Earth continued to fight back against its invaders, using weapons they had never anticipated. Its own natural systems evolved over billions of years to survive in conditions the Jirelians considered a death trap. 6 months into the occupation, Earth's weather shifted as summer approached in the northern hemisphere. The changing seasons brought new challenges for the alien invaders and new opportunities for human resistance. Colonel Frank Mitchell stood on a hill overlooking what had once been the outskirts of Chicago. The city skyline was changed now, with alien structures rising between human buildings. Frank raised his binoculars and studied the enemy positions. "They've reduced their patrols. Again," he noted to the soldiers around him. "Third time this week." His second-in-command, Captain Lisa Rodriguez, nodded. "Their numbers are thinning. That virus is still spreading through their ranks." Frank lowered the binoculars. "Operation Thunderstrike is a go. Tell all units to prepare. The storm front will reach the city in approximately 3 hours." Lisa relayed the orders through their secure communication system. Across the region, resistance fighters and military units prepared for coordinated attacks on key alien installations. Frank looked up at the darkening sky. The approaching thunderstorm would provide cover for their assault. The aliens' sensory systems would be overwhelmed by the electrical activity, giving human forces a crucial advantage. "You think the Council will ever send them reinforcements?" Lisa asked. Frank shook his head. "Our intelligence suggests they've been quarantined. The Empire doesn't want whatever diseases their troops have caught here spreading to other worlds." "They're on their own," Lisa said with satisfaction. "Just like we were." In Seattle, Jack Williams' resistance group had grown from 20 to over 200 members. They had established a hidden base in an old subway tunnel and were preparing for their largest operation yet. Mei Chen had perfected her chemical compound, which they now called armor melt. Dozens of resistance members worked to produce it, in large quantities using materials scavenged from around the city. Jack studied the map of alien positions. "Their main power generator is here," he said, pointing to a location near the center of the city. "It supplies energy to their entire command center. If we can disable it, their systems will be forced to run on backup power." Chris, who had successfully established communications with other resistance groups, added, "And their backup systems are vulnerable to the humidity. They've been having increasing failures as summer temperatures rise." Jack nodded. "That's our target then. May, how much armor melt do we have ready?" "Enough for this operation and more," she replied. "We've also created a delivery system, pressurized containers that can spray the compound up to 30 feet. A young woman named Alicia, who had been a weather forecaster before the invasion, joined them. "The forecast shows temperatures climbing to 90 degrees tomorrow with humidity at 80%. Those are the worst conditions possible for their equipment." Jack smiled. "Then tomorrow is our day. Alert all teams. We move at noon when the heat and humidity are at their peak." Nurse Kelly Dawson had learned a great deal about alien biology in the months since the invasion began. The hospital where she worked now treated both humans and captured alien soldiers who had fallen ill. Dr. Patel had assembled a special medical team dedicated to studying the new diseases that had emerged, viruses and bacteria that had jumped between species, creating unique hybrid infections. Kelly examined an alien patient, checking the monitors tracking its vital signs. The Jirelian was unconscious, its scaled skin pale and dry. Dr. Patel entered the isolation room wearing protective gear. "How's our patient doing?" "No improvement," Kelly replied. "The fever is still high, and respiratory function is declining, Dr. Ray." Patel checked the latest test results. "This modified cold virus is devastating to their system. Their immune response is completely overwhelmed." Kelly looked at the unconscious alien. "It's strange to think that something so common to us could be so deadly to them." "That's the irony. Dr. Patel said. They came here with advanced weapons, thinking we were the vulnerable ones. But our bodies have evolved to survive in this environment. We carry millions of microorganisms that are harmless to us, but lethal to them. Have you shared this data with the military? Kelly asked. Dr. Patel nodded. They're working on a delivery system. If they can introduce these microorganisms into the air filtration systems of alien bases. Biological warfare, Kelly said quietly. Using our natural defenses against them. They started this war, Dr. Patel reminded her. We're just using the weapons Earth gave us. On the Jurelian command ship, Commander Kethzar received the response from the Imperial Council. He read it in silence, then looked up at his officers, with a grim expression. The Council has enacted quarantine protocols, he announced. No additional forces will be deployed to Earth. We are ordered to complete our mission with available resources or, he paused, initiate withdrawal. The bridge was silent. The Empire had never before suggested withdrawal as an option. Trelna stepped forward. Commander, I've completed my latest analysis. Our forces are not just losing. We're endangering the Empire itself. The longer we stay, the more our troops adapt to Earth conditions, the more danger we pose if we return home. These pathogens could devastate our worlds. Kethzar stared at the data. The situation was worse than he had imagined. Nearly half of his ground forces were now infected with Earth-borne diseases. Equipment failures had increased by 200% as summer. Humidity rose in the northern hemisphere. And the humans were growing bolder, launching coordinated attacks that targeted weak points in Jurelian defenses. We have underestimated this world at every turn, Kethzar admitted. What we saw as primitive was actually adapted perfectly to conditions we consider extreme. Their technology may be less advanced, but it functions in their environment. Ours does not. He looked out at Earth, the blue planet that had defied Imperial conquest. Prepare a new strategy. Pull our forces back to secure zones. Establish defensive perimeters. We will hold what territory we can while seeking a resolution to this conflict. An officer looked confused. Resolution, sir? You mean conquest? Kethzar shook his head. I mean survival. The Empire has never encountered a world like this. A death trap that fights back with its very existence. We must adapt our thinking, or face extinction. As storm clouds gathered over Chicago, Frank Mitchell gave the order to begin Operation Thunderstrike. As lightning flashed across the sky, human forces moved toward alien positions, carrying weapons specifically designed to target Jurelian weaknesses. In Seattle, Jack Williams led his team through underground tunnels toward the alien power generator, their backpacks filled with armor melt. In labs across the world, scientists like Alan Carter and Linda Rosario refined their understanding of alien technology, finding new ways to turn Earth itself into a weapon. And in space, Commander Kethzar looked down at the planet that had brought the mighty Jurelian Empire to its knees, not with advanced technology or superior numbers, but with microscopic life forms changing seasons and a hostile environment that humans called home. The tide of war was turning, not because humans were stronger or smarter, but because Earth itself had become their most powerful ally. 1 year had passed since the Jurelian invasion began. The alien forces were in full retreat across the globe. Their numbers had been decimated by disease, equipment failures, and relentless attacks from human resistance fighters. Only their orbital fleet remained largely intact, hovering above Earth like watchful eyes. Commander Kethzar stood on the bridge of his command ship, looking down at the blue planet that had brought the mighty Empire to its knees. His once perfect scaled skin was now patched with pale spots, evidence of the Earth-borne infections that had spread through his body. Many of his officers showed similar signs of illness. Status report, he ordered, his voice weaker than it had been a year ago. Trelna approached with a datapad. She had been right about everything, though she took no pleasure in it. Ground forces are down to less than 20% of original numbers, sir. Most of our remaining troops have been evacuated to orbital stations, but many are too sick to be moved. Kethzar nodded slowly. And the cleansing protocol? Failed. Trelna said simply. We cannot eliminate Earth's microorganisms. They adapt too quickly. Each attempt at sterilization only creates stronger variants. The commander closed his eyes briefly. He had never known defeat in his long career. Yet here it was, delivered not by a superior military force but by microscopic life, forms in a hostile environment. The Imperial Council has reviewed our situation, he said finally. They have authorized me to seek terms with the humans. A murmur of surprise ran through the bridge crew. The Empire had never negotiated with a species it had attempted to conquer. Sir? Trelna looked shocked. We're going to communicate with them? Yes, Kethazar said. Open a channel to their global communication networks. I wish to address their leaders directly. At the United Nations headquarters in New York, world leaders gathered in the General Assembly Hall. The alien commander had requested this meeting, and after much debate, they had agreed to hear what he had to say. Dr. Alan Carter and Dr. Linda Rosario sat in the observer section, invited because of their work understanding alien technology. Colonel Frank Mitchell was there too, representing the military forces that had fought back against the invasion. The large screen at the front of the hall flickered to life, showing the alien commander. Even those who had never seen a Jurelian before could tell that this one was unwell. People of Earth, Kethzar began, his translator converting his words to various human languages. I am Commander Kethzar of the Jurelian Empire. For 1 year our forces have attempted to conquer your world. We have failed. The hall remained silent, everyone too stunned by this admission to react. We gravely underestimated your world and your species, the commander continued. What we saw is a death trap you call home. What kills us makes you stronger. The Empire has never encountered a species like yours, evolved in conditions we consider uninhabitable, resistant to pathogens that devastate our kind. He paused, seeming to gather his strength. I have been authorized to offer terms for our withdrawal. The Empire will classify Earth as a sovereign world that we will never again attempt to conquer. All our forces will depart your system. In return, we ask only safe passage for our remaining troops and ships. The Secretary General stood. And how can we trust that your empire won't return when you've recovered from your losses? Kethazar's expression changed in a way that might have been a bitter smile. Because Earth will be classified as a Class X death world in our navigational databases, the highest hazard rating in our system. No Jurelian commander would ever attempt to invade again, and we will provide you with technology to detect our ships at a distance far greater than your current capabilities, as insurance against any future aggression. After the aliens' address, the UN chamber erupted in debate. Some leaders advocated pursuing the aliens into space, using captured technology to build weapons that could take the fight to the Empire. Others argued for accepting the terms and focusing on rebuilding. Alan stood to address the assembly when given permission to speak. The commander's offer seems genuine. From everything we've learned about their biology, they simply cannot adapt to Earth. Their bodies aren't designed for our environment, just as we would struggle to survive on their worlds. Linda added, their technology is still far beyond ours in many ways, particularly in space travel. If we tried to pursue them, we would be at a severe disadvantage once we left Earth's protective environment. Frank Mitchell offered the military perspective. We've beaten back their ground forces, but their orbital capabilities remain largely intact. Accepting their withdrawal lets us end this conflict on favorable terms without risking further destruction. After hours of discussion, the UN reached a consensus. They would accept the aliens' offer, with additional conditions regarding the return of captured humans and cleanup of alien structures and materials left on Earth. 2 days later, Linda Rosario led a small delegation to meet with Jurelian representatives. The meeting took place in a sealed environment that allowed both species to be comfortable. We accept your terms for withdrawal, Linda said to Trelna, who represented the commander, with the additional conditions outlined in this document. Trelna reviewed the human demands. These are acceptable. We will begin our evacuation immediately. It should be complete within 14 Earth days. Linda studied the alien scientist curiously. You warned them, didn't you, about Earth's dangers? Trelna's large eyes blinked slowly. I tried. Some warnings are not heeded until it is too late. Why did your empire choose our world? Linda asked. There must be easier targets. The empire expands. That is its nature, Trelna replied. But Earth will change things. A world that defeated us will make others question whether the empire is truly invincible. As the last Imperial ships prepared to leave Earth's orbit, Jack Williams took his students to the roof of their school. The alien structures in Seattle were already being dismantled, and soon the city would show no signs of the occupation. Look, up there, Jack said, pointing to the distant lights of departing ships. They came thinking we were weak because we live in what they consider hell. They left understanding something important. Sometimes the most dangerous species are those that evolve in the harshest environments. One student raised her hand. Will they come back? Jack shook his head. No. They've classified Earth as a death trap, the most dangerous world they've ever encountered. He smiled as the ships grew smaller in the night sky. They'll tell stories about us out there among the stars, about the planet where even the air can kill you, where invisible life forms attack from every surface, where storms produce lightning that fries electronic systems. They'll warn other species to stay away from the deadly world called Earth. Another student looked thoughtful. But it's not deadly to us. No, Jack agreed. To us it's home. And that was their biggest mistake. They never understood that what made Earth dangerous to them made us stronger. Every disease we've survived, every environmental challenge we've overcome, they've all prepared us for this moment. As the final alien ship vanished into the darkness, a cheer went up from watchers around the world. Humanity had faced its first contact with an alien empire, and emerged not just surviving but victorious. And far away in the depths of space, news of Earth's successful resistance spread through the Empire's subject worlds. For the first time in millennia, the Jurelians faced questions about their supposed invincibility. Other alien civilizations took note of the small blue planet that defeated the undefeatable, some with fear, others with newfound respect, and a few with thoughts of alliance. Earth was no longer an insignificant world on the galactic fringe. It was now known across the stars as the death trap that even the mighty Jurelian Empire couldn't conquer.